Hello and welcome to this week's 2-Minute Parsha. Last week in Parshas Beshalach we ended with the last 3 plagues in Egypt and the beginning of the exile. This week in Parshas Beshalach, as they left Egypt through the desert, Hashem leads them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Then Paro regrets his decision to let the Jews go, and he gathers a mighty army to chase after them. The nation sees the army approaching and are very fearful. They want to surrender and return to Egypt. Moshe then davens to Hashem, and a strong easterly wind blows all night. He sticks out his stick over the sea, and it splits. The Jews entered the sea with the Egyptians tailing close behind them. And early the next morning, the Jews exited on the other side of the sea, and Moshe held his stick out again over the sea. The walls of water crash in over the Egyptian troops, drowning all of them, and then washed them ashore for the Jews to see. The exuberance and the euphoria in the camp led Moshe to lead them in song and praising Hashem for these miracles. As we say, the Oz Yosher Moshe. The women under the lead of Miriam followed suit. After this, the Jews had several difficulties in their travels in the desert. First, in Marah, they complained about the bitter water that they found. So Hashem told Moshe to throw wood into the water, and it turned sweet. Hashem then reassured them that when they keep the Torah, nothing that befell the Egyptians in Egypt will ever befall the Jews. Second, in Midbar Sin, they complained about the shortage of food. So Hashem promised them the daily portion of mon and a double portion for Friday and on Friday for Shabbos. They still complained. The food in Egypt was so much better. So Hashem appeared to Moshe in front of all the nation, and he promised them meat. That evening, the quail, the slav, came for their meat, and the next morning they awoke to a sheet of man. They didn't all listen to the rules of the man, and Hashem was angry, and he told them through Moshe that the double portion on Friday was for Shabbos, thereby giving the mitzvah of Shabbos for the first time. Aaron, Moshe's brother, then took a jar of man to keep for the generations later to see. And finally, the fifth challenge was in Rephidim, where again they complained about the lack of water, and Hashem told Moshe to hit the rock with his stick from which fresh water started flowing. The parsha ends with the attack of Amalek, and Moshe's hands were up in prayer. When they were up in prayer, Yeshua and his Yid army won the battle. Hashem promised to eventually completely wipe out Amalek. In summary, in this week's parsha, we had the splitting of the sea, followed by the Oz Yosher, the bitter waters of Marah, the episodes of the manna and the slav at Midbar Sin. We have the mitzvah of Shabbos, the water from the rock in Rephidim, and finally the battle with Amalek. Hope to see you all next week. Good Shabbos.